Alright everyone, now it's time to talk about Biden's student loan debt relief grift, which is exactly what it is. It's not coincidental that they decided to tease this out last year, but then they wait until a couple of months before the midterms. It's very carefully timed to be right in that end stage before the subsequent election in order to try to buy votes. Specifically, mostly to try to buff up the voter base with the youth among the left, because they tend to be the ones that get themselves into a lot of debt, and then, they wonder, I took out $50,000 of student loan debt, and I got a master's degree in women's studies. I don't understand why I can't pay off my student loans. We've become decadent and weak as a society, and we really shouldn't be freeing up federal student loans anyway for people that aren't in STEM or other legit fields or don't have a significant amount of merit. Now, to be clear, the financial aid-driven side of student loans has some major hazards and economic caveats to it, and I say this as someone who got quite a bit of student aid because I was poor. That should only be used for fields where the person is presumably going to actually succeed. And there's a huge differential between fields. Women's studies, you don't really have a chance. Not unless you end up literally working at the college that you graduated from as a professor or something. Engineering, okay, we're going to loan you money because engineers are in demand. The government can figure this out. Ultimately, there shouldn't be any student loans at all because there shouldn't be a need for student loans. Back in the 1950s, you could put yourself through Harvard with a part-time summer job. How things have changed. And the boomers still have the audacity, by the way, to blame millennials for being weak or being, we're not willing to work hard enough. Back in my day, you pounded the pavement and shook hands, and eventually you got a job. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, and then you financed your yacht at a much lower interest level than my student loans are at. To be clear, I oppose student loan debt forgiveness. In all forms, by the way. I say this as someone with several tens of thousands of dollars of student loan debt. I don't want it paused. I don't want it forgiven. I don't want the government anywhere near my shit. I took out the debt. I signed the fucking promissory note. Let me deal with it. That's number one. That's out of principle. I realize that there are people out there that are economically a lot worse off than I am, and so for them, that's not necessarily an option. They're fucked in the ass. The boomers fucked half the millennial generation in the ass, and trust me, as someone who was raised in poverty, I know how that is. So I have sympathy for them. I don't blame them for wanting student loan debt relief, but what I would say is this is a political grift, number one. And number two, when this bill is passed, and it appears to be, if it's not injuncted, and I hope that the courts get involved and say this goes too far as your EO privilege, they should have to go through the normal legal process, not just have Biden say, well, I'm writing off some money. I'm giving you free money. Who ends up paying for it? This is inflationary in nature. It's not proposing a new tax or anything like that. It's the government dispensing money to various people. Who will pay for it? The same people that are receiving the debt relief are going to pay for it in the form of inflation. So yeah, I'm no longer paying $200 a month on my student loans. Yay, my loans are gone. Oh shit, I'm paying $200 more a month to buy groceries. It's a grift. It's a con job, but that won't show up until after the midterms. And that's the whole point of this. This is effectively nothing more than vote buying. This is the sort of banana republic bullshit that we've gotten used to under the Bidenomic administration, the stewardship that we're suffering under anyway. We've seen this over and over and over again. I would be surprised if he didn't do something like this right before the midterms. August is waning. You're entering September. You're entering the final 3 months before the midterms. Perfect timing. The inflation won't show up until later. People may later get buyer's remorse, but it won't matter. Biden's not going to seek a second term. He doesn't care if the economy collapses in year 3. Why do you think he's so gung-ho for the Manchin-Schumer deal that's going to dump $700 billion more into an already overheated economy? Because the inflation doesn't show up within the first 6 months or thereabouts. You have to wait about that long before it begins to become apparent. And then the damage metastasizes later. That's what'll happen. The other part is, think about this. Person struggling to pay their student loans. We've been fed the bullshit, phony baloney story by people like Elizabeth Warren and Biden that so many people would buy a home or start a business or get a loan for some great idea if only they didn't have, several $100s a month they were paying on student loans. Now, first, that's bullshit. Basically, all you're going to do is they're going to upgrade from ramen soup to Campbell's. If they're really hurting that badly and they're in the lower class, it's not really helping them in any meaningful way. That's number one. Number two, do you want somebody who did their gambit thing? They went to college, they got a shitty degree in many cases, and now they've got the debt and they can't pay it off. Do you really want them starting a business? It'll fail. Do you want them getting a mortgage? They won't be able to pay it. And that's unfortunately the case with a lot of people that are helped. What they'll do is they'll immediately take out other debt. Oh my God, I've got $300 extra a month. Let me spend them. No, not save them, not invest wisely, not be patient and store it up for a couple of years and then launch my food cart idea or something. They'll spend it. That's the nature of 90% of human beings. And this is what separates, by the way, people who are wealthy from people who are not most of the time. The other problem is, of course, the government gets in the way of people with talent. You have to figure out the least governed aspect of society. The fringe of society is always where the wealth is made now, isn't it? Back in the frontier, the man who went out 100 miles into the forest to get the pelts was the one that got the good furs, now wasn't he? The person who went wandering off into the wilderness beyond the edge of the known territories is the one that found the lost Dutchman's mine, now wasn't he? Etc. The sailor that was frequently drunk and crazy and got sick of his government was the one that found the island and then got to name it. It's the same with the modern economy. The internet was, for some years, basically that frontier. Now, I'm glad that I got in when I did. Now I guess it's crypto or blockchains or something. NFTs. Those haven't gone over so well. I think those are going to become vestigial. Remember all of the Nazi monkeys that people were selling? Anyway, you have to be as absent from government as possible if you want to actually make your fortune. That's why government likes to get in on everything. It becomes a parasite. It's just a cancer. When the government tries to get involved with forgiving debt that never should have needed to exist in the first place because the college cost has become overburdensome and onerous because of government intervention, it's just an attempt to buy votes. It's not going to help many people. A small minority of people will actually be helped by this and rise up through the echelons because of this. For them, it's great. The problem is that the cost to society is at the hazard of 95+% of everyone else, especially people in the lower classes disproportionately affected by inflation. Inflationary pressure, unless it's totally out of control, doesn't impact somebody like myself at the higher margins of the middle class. It doesn't impact some of you. You're making 6 figures or something. Okay, your cereal costs 30 cents more per box. That's not breaking the bank. Who does it affect? People who are already living paycheck to paycheck. The lower and working class, and certainly the lower part of the middle class economically, they're affected too. That's about all. Peace out.